And yeah, I just feel like a lot of people are on it.
Right. And don't talk about it.
And don't talk about
Sure.
it. And so I'm like, well, why are we like questioning? We should just talk about it and be totally open.
Leadership leads to talent development. You really want a leader that wants to develop talent and that wants their team to be the best in class and the best team.
Everyone is buzzing about Serena Williams' alleged $50 million retaliation, which is rocking the tennis world. Welcome back. The most explosive, astounding, and unvarnished tennis stories come to life at Baselinks Tennis. We're going to talk about more than a petty celebrity dispute or another sports headline. Rather, it has developed into a huge $50 million conflict that has the potential to fundamentally alter the dynamic between professional sportsmen and the influential media outlets that have long benefited from their personal hardships. The fiercest tennis matches have place on storied courts like Wimbledon, the US Open, and in the sweltering Australian Open for decades. However, the actual conflict is taking place far from the stadium lights this time. The hosts of daytime television thought they were untouchable in the tight boardrooms and legal departments of ABC and its parent corporation, Disney. They reportedly brought a 20-year-old budding tennis player onto their show because they were confident in their platform. They asked her awkward questions and turned her emotional answers into TV entertainment to increase viewership. However, they might have made a grave error in judgment this time. They misjudged the effects of what they were doing. More significantly, they misjudged the response that would ensue. Because everything changed when the narrative got to one specific person. Altered. They seem to overlook the fact that Serena Williams has a memory comparable to steel, a legal team strong enough to take on even the largest organizations, and zero tolerance for bullying, particularly when it involves young athletes attempting to advance in their careers. So grab some popcorn, press the like button, and settle back because one of the most talked about tales in contemporary tennis is the purported retaliation plan Serena Williams is developing against The View. However, as context is crucial, we must go back to the beginning to see how things came to this position. The ascension of Alex Iller, a 20-year-old Filipino tennis sensation who has drawn attention from all over the world with his incredible performances and fearless style of play, has rocked the tennis world over the last 4 weeks. Iller is more than simply another young, talented player rising through the ranks. She is a symbol of something much greater. She represents a new tennis generation. Technically sound, fearless, and the embodiment of a country's aspirations. For millions of admirers in the Philippines and around Asia, Alex embodies a dream that has taken decades to realize. The rise to prominence of a world tennis champion from an area that has long awaited its chance to compete internationally. Fans in the Philippines have been ecstatic with her achievements. Furthermore, it is becoming more and more obvious to the tennis community around the world that she is the real deal. Alex Iller, a rising Filipino star, has drawn notice not only for her on-court exploits but also for the composed assurance she exudes. Her participation on the ABC daytime chat show The View first appeared to be the ideal occasion due to that increasing prominence. It was meant to be a time of celebration, an opportunity for the young athlete to introduce herself to people outside of the tennis world, connect with a wider audience, and share her experience. However, the interview apparently took an unexpected turn, according to a number of accounts and conversations around the incident. According to reports, the talk that was supposed to be encouraging turned into something far more awkward. The conversation allegedly shifted to more intimate and in-depth subjects rather than her accomplishments and developing profession. Observers reported that the interview's tone grew more hostile as the questions went on, putting the young athlete in an uncomfortable situation in front of cameras and a live audience. The pressure was already tremendous for a 20-year-old making an appearance on a huge national television platform in a foreign land. What should have been a proud milestone turned into a time that many viewers later described as painful to witness as a result of having to deal with unexpected and intensely personal inquiries. However, the producers might not have expected one thing. The strain didn't break Alex Iller. Rather, in a scenario that could have easily overwhelmed someone her age, she showed incredible decorum, calmness, and respect. Many people thought her response demonstrated a level of maturity much beyond her years. Then came the event that swiftly rose to prominence as one of the most talked about instances in recent sports media discussions. She just got up and left. Alexa walked quietly off the stage, her head held high. That choice was more than an emotional response. It became considerably more significant for a lot of individuals who were watching and talking about the event afterwards. A strong statement about self-respect, dignity, and the limits that even young athletes have the right to defend. The response was instantaneous as soon as she left the stage. The event sparked a whirlwind of criticism in the sports world within hours. Online arguments, commentary, and clips started to proliferate quickly. Critics questioned how a young athlete could have been put in such an awkward situation on national television, and all of a sudden the network that produced the show, American Broadcasting Company, or ABC, found itself under intense scrutiny and facing a growing backlash. However, the tale gained much more attention as a result of what transpired subsequently. Fans and PR departments weren't the only ones that responded to Alex Iller's experience. One of the most influential voices in tennis history seemed to be lending support, according to conversations going around the sport. Serena Williams had that voice. With 23 Grand Slam singles victories, the iconic champion redefined domination in women's tennis. She has long been known for speaking out on problems related to equality, respect, and how players are treated. Numerous stories and online conversations on Iller's interview claimed that Williams was steadfastly supporting the young Filipino celebrity. Insiders said that instead of only posting a brief word of support on social media, the situation would have gotten much worse, potentially involving public and legal pressure on ABC and the producers of The View. In those articles, Williams was shown not only as a helpful character but also as someone who might be involved in a more significant conflict, one that, according to some sources, could cost tens of millions of dollars if legal action were ever taken. The discussion itself demonstrates how seriously many members of the tennis community are treating the incident and the larger issue it poses, regardless of whether those claims turn out to be true in the end. How young athletes are handled in influential media settings. When you take into account Serena Williams' influence outside of the tennis court, the scenario gets much more fascinating. She has amassed a remarkable business portfolio since quitting professional tennis. Her venture capital firm, Serena Ventures, which has made investments in numerous businesses in the consumer, media, and technology sectors, is one of the main foundations of that empire. Through these endeavors, Williams has established a reputation as a brilliant business strategist in addition to being a competitive athlete. Someone who is knowledgeable in corporate power dynamics, negotiations, and leverage. Because of this background, many observers think that Serena Williams would probably need to plan ahead and showcase her legal knowledge rather than just making public statements if she were to help someone in a significant public or legal battle. Attorneys with expertise in media and entertainment law may be involved in investigating what transpired, according to reports and conjecture. Legal teams frequently carry out thorough investigations in cases such as this, examining contracts, production agreements, and internal correspondence to ascertain whether professional or ethical boundaries were violated. Furthermore, the results can differ greatly when strong legal teams intervene in circumstances such as these. Certain cases result in financial settlements, public accountability, and occasionally regulatory reforms intended to stop similar incidents from occurring in the future. But for many insiders, the story's emotional component might be just as important as its legal one. According to some observers, Serena Williams, who during her own illustrious career had encountered intense scrutiny, challenging interviews, and times when she believed players were treated unfairly by media institutions, was particularly sensitive to the topic. When many people watched the footage of Alex Iller being subjected to intense questioning under bright studio lights, some observers felt it echoed moments from Serena Williams' early career. During her rise to prominence in professional tennis, Serena frequently faced challenging press conferences and media narratives that focused not only on her performances but also on her appearance and personal life for a young athlete trying to establish herself at the highest level of the sport. This could help explain why the tennis world is paying such close attention to what happens next. There was a lot of strain because of those events. Indian Wells in 2001 was one of the most talked about events in tennis history. When Serena Williams was still a teenager participating on one of the largest stages in sports, she and her family encountered a very hostile crowd during that tournament. Her connection with the media and that tournament was shaped for years by the event, which turned into a pivotal moment in her career. Serena has to get remarkably resilient in situations like that. She eventually built a record that encompassed 23 Grand Slam singles victories and established herself as one of the finest athletes the sport has ever seen by responding with dominance on the court rather than silence. Because of that past, some people in the tennis community think that she would be greatly affected by issues involving young athletes today. Serena has frequently discussed the value of fairness, respect, and safeguarding the welfare of athletes navigating the demands of international renown because she was subjected to severe scrutiny at an early age. Discussions going around in tennis circles suggest that this viewpoint could help to explain why Alex's story has garnered so much interest. Even the idea that Serena Williams may back a younger player in a dispute involving significant media outlets carries a great deal of weight in the sports world because of her influence, wealth, and international reputation. The tale might not end there. The prospect that more well-known tennis players would join the larger issue concerning athlete care and media duty has also been brought up in reports and conversations among experts. Novak Djokovic is one name that is often brought up. In addition to being a co-founder of the Professional Tennis Players Association, a group established to promote greater representation and rights for professional tennis players, Djokovic now holds the most Grand Slam singles championships in men's tennis history with 24. Some commentators think Djokovic might play a significant role in conversations regarding how players are handled by major media organizations as well as tournament organizers because he has always advocated for more protections and support systems for athletes. The matter might go beyond a single televised incident if prominent figures from all facets of the sport start speaking out collectively. Rather, it might be included in a broader discussion about accountability, justice, and respect in contemporary sports media. In tennis conversations, some pundits have even proposed that Alexa supporters may create a protective spotlight around the young player, making sure that her expertise and voice aren't overlooked. That would imply that the problem is no longer only a young athlete's response to an awkward appearance on The View for networks like American Broadcasting Company. Rather, it has expanded into a much wider discussion that involves some of the most significant and well-known individuals in tennis history and raises important issues of how the upcoming generation of players should be handled when they enter the public eye. Tennis. Given these people's reputations, financial clout, and widespread media attention, the issue may have far-reaching effects. The attention naturally grows when well-known individuals like Novak Djokovic and Serena Williams participate in public discourse. What started out as a dispute over a young athlete's presence on television has now developed into a more general discussion about how influential media outlets handle professional athletes. The problem is frequently seen through the prism of Djokovic's personal experiences with intensive international scrutiny. Throughout his career, he has often been at the heart of contentious public discussions and media storylines that go well beyond the tennis court. During the 2022 Australian Open, one of the most talked-about instances took place. Prior to the competition, Djokovic was arrested by Australian officials upon his arrival and subsequently deported after a protracted legal battle over immunization and visa requirements. The incident set off a big worldwide media storm that dominated headlines for weeks and sparked discussions about public health, politics, law, and sports. The speed at which narratives developed during that time was recognized by many observers. Despite the complex legal and political aspects of the case, Djokovic was presented in some articles as a contentious figure or even a villain. His perspective on how athletes can occasionally be evaluated in the court of public opinion, often by pundits who have never encountered the extreme pressures of elite international competition, has been molded by such experiences. Djokovic has become an outspoken supporter of player rights in professional tennis as a result of incidents like these. He is one of the founders of the Professional Tennis Players Association, which was established to provide players more representation in the sport and a stronger collective voice. The organization's supporters claim that its goal is to specifically address circumstances in which players might feel vulnerable or unfairly treated by powerful institutions, such as sponsors, regulating authorities, or significant media outlets. Consequently, conversations about Alex Iller's experience have inevitably attracted the attention of others associated with the larger player rights movement. Situations like this, according to some observers, might bring up crucial issues about media behavior, athlete interview preparation, and broadcasters' obligations when hosting young competitors on prominent platforms. Many commentators now see the dispute as part of a broader discussion about the relationship between professional athletes and the contemporary media industry rather than as a singular incident. Legal experts point out that the issues involved can become complicated and very public if any legal action were to proceed in such circumstances. Questions about emotional distress, slander, and whether interview settings were handled properly are examples of potential claims. Because they raise more general issues about ethics, journalistic standards, and striking a balance between entertainment and guest respect, cases involving international celebrities, major broadcasting networks like American Broadcasting Company, and shows like The View frequently garner a lot of public attention. Whatever the outcome, the issue has already generated a heated debate among the sporting community. The obligations that media outlets have when interviewing young athletes who unexpectedly find themselves in the spotlight on a global scale are a topic of discussion among fans, analysts, and pundits. When 4 up-and-coming artists take the stage for the first time on international stages, it can be both an amazing opportunity and a daunting challenge. Additionally, as this discussion develops, it might eventually contribute to the creation of new standards for justice, respect, and preparation when the upcoming generation of athletes competes. Tennis. What allegedly causes Americans to be so concerned about this possible legal issue?